The twin suns of Zathra burned bright in the violet sky, casting golden light over the crowded marketplace. Merchants shouted their offers, dancers in shimmering robes twirled in the open plaza, and alien males displayed rare jewels, exotic beasts, and impossible feats of strength to impress the watching women. It was the great season of courtship, the time when males from every corner of the planet gathered to win the attention of the galaxy's most admired females. For centuries, Zathran males had ruled this game, tall, muscular, with skin that glowed faintly in the sun's light, and eyes like polished crystals. They were the image of beauty in their own world. No outsider had ever come close to competing with them. That was why, when a small silver starship landed on the far side of the market square, no one paid much attention at first. The hatch opened with a hiss, and a group of humans stepped out. They were shorter, their skin dull compared to the glittering tones of the Zathrans, their eyes ordinary by local standards. A few aliens snickered, quietly, assuming the humans were traders, perhaps looking to sell metal parts or strange earth fruit. But then, something happened that none of them expected. A princess of Zathra, Lyrea of the Crystal House, paused mid-step as she saw the humans. She ignored the tower of gemstones offered by a suitor beside her, her gaze fixed on one of the newcomers, a human pilot named Ryan, his uniform plain, his face sun-tanned and marked by small scars. Without hesitation, she walked directly to him. The alien males stared, frozen, as the princess spoke in a soft voice, asking Ryan where he had come from. Ryan smiled, answered simply, and said something that made her laugh, not the polite laugh given to strangers, but the warm, bright laugh she reserved for trusted friends. The marketplace went silent. It was unheard of for a Zathran woman, especially one of royal blood, to approach a stranger so openly. Alien males exchanged confused glances, unsure if this was some kind of test, but it was no trick. Within minutes, 2 other Zathran women joined the conversation, smiling and asking questions about Earth. The humans did not boast of treasures or show strength, they just talked, and the women listened. Kareth, a young scholar among the males, watched from the shade of a stone pillar. He had always believed that courtship was a science, an art of appearance, status, and power. Yet here, in the heart of the marketplace, the laws of attraction seemed to be breaking before his eyes. Ryan was not flexing muscles or displaying wealth. He was listening, nodding, telling stories in a calm, friendly voice. The women leaned closer, as if his words themselves were precious gems. One of the older males, tall and draped in gold chains, stepped forward to challenge the strange intrusion. "Do you think you can charm our women with talking?" He sneered, his voice loud enough for the crowd. Ryan simply looked at him, smiled, and said, "I'm not here to take anyone. I'm just here to know people." The alien male scoffed, but the princess tilted her head and gave Ryan a look that carried more weight than any gemstone. The watching crowd felt the shift. It was as if a silent battle had begun. One fought not with weapons or muscles, but with something invisible. By the end of the day, whispers had already started. "Did you see how they looked at him?" One alien male murmured, "They're humans, how can this be?" Another asked. The older males laughed it off, calling it a novelty. Surely the women would grow bored of the humans soon. But Kareth wasn't so sure. He had seen something in the way the women's eyes lit up when Ryan spoke, something deeper than curiosity, something dangerous, at least for the Zathran males who had always believed the game was theirs to win. As the suns began to set, the humans moved through the market, unaware of the storm they had stirred. Children ran up to them, curious about their strange clothes and accents. Women offered them sweet crystal fruits, and in the shadows, alien males watched in silence. Their pride stung, their minds restless. For the first time in generations, they had rivals, and they did not understand the rules of this new game. The next morning, the market buzzed with the same noise and color. Yet beneath it ran a new current. Alien males stood taller, spoke louder, and tried harder, hoping to erase the strange events of yesterday. But their eyes kept drifting toward the humans. Ryan and his crew moved through the crowd with easy steps, greeting vendors, tasting food, laughing with strangers. They didn't seem to know they had become the most talked about beings on the planet. Lyrea, the princess, appeared again, this time without the golden guards who usually shadowed her. She walked straight to Ryan, carrying a basket of violet fruits. The crowd held its breath. Alien males had spent years learning the perfect posture, the perfect gift, the perfect tone of voice. Yet the princess handed Ryan the fruit with no ceremony, just a smile, and asked if he had slept well. Ryan thanked her, took a bite, and began telling her about Earth's seas, describing waves that roared against cliffs. Lyrea leaned forward, her eyes wide as if each word painted pictures in the air. Kareth, the scholar, followed at a careful distance. He had decided to study these humans as if they were part of Nku's experiment. He noted the way they didn't interrupt when someone spoke, the way they asked questions and listened with genuine interest. To the Zathran males, conversation was a competition, a chance to outshine. To the humans, it seemed to be a bridge, and somehow, the women preferred the bridge over the throne. By midday, Kareth saw something even stranger. An older human engineer named Harris was sitting on a low stone wall, fixing a small broken toy for a merchant's child. 3 young Zathran women stood nearby, giggling at his gentle way of speaking to the child. When the toy's light crystal flickered back to life, the child squealed with joy. Harris smiled and handed it over, not expecting thanks. But the women thanked him anyway, one even touching his arm softly. Kareth frowned. No display of strength, no expensive gift, just kindness, and it worked. The alien males began whispering theories. Perhaps they carry hidden scent emitters, one suggested, or some hypnotic tone in their voices. Another added. A few even claimed it was ancient sorcery. But deep down, the truth was more unsettling. The humans weren't doing anything unnatural. They were simply different. That evening, at the Great Fountain Plaza, dozens gathered to watch the glowing waters rise into the air in perfect arcs. Alien males took turns leaping through the streams to show their agility. The humans didn't join in. Instead, Ryan sat on the fountain's edge, talking to Lyrea and 2 other women about how humans sing to one another. When Lyrea asked if he could sing, Ryan hesitated, then sang a short earth melody, low and soft. The alien women closed their eyes, listening as if they could feel the song on their skin. Even Kareth felt a strange shiver as the night grew late. Kareth realized something dangerous was happening. The women were no longer curious about the humans. They were drawn to them. It wasn't the way they looked or the treasures they had. It was the way they made others feel. And in a society built on status and competition, that was a power no one had prepared for. By the 3rd day, the mood in the marketplace had shifted. What began as whispers had turned into sharp glances, folded arms, and tense silences whenever humans passed by. The alien males, once proud and relaxed, now stood in tight groups, speaking. In low voices, their perfect smiles were gone, replaced by the tight jaws of men watching their pride slip away. For centuries, Zathran males had ruled the art of courtship. Now in just days, humans, shorter, less decorated, and seemingly unaware of the rules, were capturing attention they had fought lifetimes to earn. It was an insult too deep to ignore, and insults on Zathra demanded a response. That morning, Kareth noticed something different. Alien males were preparing the central plaza for something big. Long platforms, shimmering banners, and a stage of silverstone. He asked a vendor what was happening, and the answer came with a sneer. The trials of worth, the vendor said. We will show these humans what real skill looks like. By midday, the plaza was packed. Rows of alien women stood along the edges, curious but wary. The males stepped forward, one after another, performing feats of strength. lifting stone blocks heavier than a transport shuttle, leaping impossible distances, and bending steel rods with their hands. The crowd clapped politely, but Kareth noticed something strange. The women's eyes kept drifting toward the humans, as if waiting to see their reaction. When the trials ended, one of the largest males, draped in golden armor, turned to Ryan and pointed. "Your turn, human," he said, his voice booming across the square. Ryan raised his hands in protest. "I didn't come here to compete," he replied. The crowd murmured, some amused, others angry. The golden-armored male smirked. "Afraid you will lose?" Ryan shook his head, then walked slowly to the center of the stage. Instead of lifting stones or bending metal, he asked for a chair. When it was brought to him, he sat down, looked out at the crowd, and began telling a story. It was about a small fishing village on Earth, about a boy who braved storms to save a friend lost at sea. His voice was steady, his words simple, but they painted images so clear that even Kareth felt the cold spray of ocean waves in his mind. The square had been loud moments before, but now it was silent, every ear straining to catch the next word. When the story ended, Ryan simply stood and returned the chair. The silence broke into quiet applause from the women. Growing louder, the alien males stood frozen, their strongest muscles and brightest jewels suddenly feeling small. The golden-armored male stepped back, his face unreadable, but Kareth saw the truth in his eyes. He had lost, that night, in the shadows of the upper streets. A group of alien males met in secret. "Words will not be enough to beat them," one said. "They are stealing our future mates. This cannot continue." Another growled. Plans began to form, darker than public contests, and somewhere in that circle, Kareth realized the humans were no longer just visitors. They had become a threat that some were willing to remove. The next morning, the air in the marketplace felt heavier. Alien males stood in corners, whispering, while the women moved in small groups, their eyes following the humans wherever they went. Kareth had spent most of the night thinking about what he had seen. He had always believed attraction was built on beauty, strength, and status, but the humans had none of these by Zathran standards, and yet they were winning. Kareth decided he needed answers. He waited until Ryan was alone, standing by the edge of the crystal fountain, looking at the twin suns rising over the horizon. "Human," Kareth said, stepping forward. "I want to know your weapon." Ryan turned to him with a puzzled smile. "Weapon?" "Yes," Kareth insisted. "You are taking the attention of our women without jewels, without contests, without power. What are you using?" Ryan chuckled softly, shaking his head. "It's not a weapon, Kareth," he said, his tone calm. "It's different where I come from." Kareth frowned. "Different how?" Ryan leaned against the fountain's edge, his gaze distant. "On Earth, a woman isn't a prize you win at a contest," he began. "She's a person, an equal. Someone you talk to, laugh with, and share things with." Kareth tilted his head. "You are saying you do not fight for them?" Ryan shook his head. "If she chooses me, it's because she wants to, not because I defeated someone." Kareth struggled to process the words. On Zathra, competition was everything. A male's worth was proven by how many rivals he could outshine. Here was a human telling him that worth came from respect. It was absurd, yet there was something in Ryan's tone that made it feel like truth. Ryan went on, "When I talk to Larea, I'm not trying to impress her. I just want to know her, hear what she thinks, understand what she's been through." Kareth blinked slowly, remembering the way Larea's eyes softened when Ryan listened to her. It was not the look of someone dazzled by power. It was the look of someone who felt seen. They stood in silence for a moment, the fountains, crystal waters shimmering between them. Finally, Kareth asked, "And you think this is why our women are drawn to you?" Ryan shrugged. "Maybe, or maybe they just like the way we make them feel human." Even if they aren't, Kareth didn't fully understand, but he felt a small crack form in the wall of everything he had been taught. A dangerous crack. From a nearby rooftop, two alien males watched the conversation. Their eyes narrowed, their hands clenched into fists. One leaned to the other and whispered, "He's winning them with words, but words can be silenced." Kareth felt a chill crawl up his spine, unaware that the days ahead would test more than courtship. They would test survival. The Festival of Lights was the most celebrated night on Zathra. Every street was draped in glowing ribbons, every plaza filled with music and dancers. Floating lanterns drifted above the city like tiny moons, casting moving shadows over the crowds. It was a time for joy, for courtship, and for the display of beauty and skill. But this year, beneath the colors and music, another current flowed, dark, silent, and sharp. Ryan walked with Larea through the market square, her laughter mixing with the hum of the music. Kareth followed a short distance behind, still unsure whether to protect Ryan or stay loyal to his own kind. He had overheard enough whispers to know something was planned, and the tone of those whispers told him it would not end well. From a high balcony, two alien males watched their target. One was the golden armored warrior from the trials, his pride still burning from the defeat. The other was a shadow-eyed merchant who had lost the favor of 3 high-born women to a single human trader. They had chosen the perfect moment. The Fountain Plaza was crowded, the noise loud enough to hide anything. No one would see the push until it was too late. The plan was simple. During the lantern release, when the crowd's eyes turned upward, Ryan would be accidentally shoved toward the fountain's gravity well. The shimmering pool was harmless on the surface, but the swirling energy at its center could drag a body under in seconds. Many children had been warned to stay away. Few survived if they fell in. Kareth's chest tightened as the moment drew near. The crowd began counting down to the lantern release. Larea leaned close to Ryan, her voice soft with excitement. Above them, thousands of glowing spheres trembled in their holders, ready to rise into the night. Then it happened. A large figure moved behind Ryan, hands poised to shove, but before the push could land, a sharp cry rang out. A small Zathran child had wandered too close to the edge of the gravity well. In the chaos of the countdown, no one noticed, except Ryan. Without a second thought, he lunged forward, scooping the child into his arms just as the ground beneath them tilted toward the pool. The force dragged at his legs, but he twisted, throwing the child toward Kareth. Kareth caught the boy, stumbling back. Ryan dropped to one knee, gripping the fountain's smooth edge to stop himself from sliding in. The crowd gasped. Larea rushed forward, grabbing his arm with both hands. With Kareth's help, they pulled Ryan away from the dangerous current. The child clung to Kareth, trembling, but unharmed when Ryan stood. Dripping from the fountain's spray, the plaza erupted in cheers. Alien women pressed forward, touching his shoulders, praising his courage. Even some males stared in grudging respect. But from the balcony above, the golden armored males, face twisted into pure rage. Their plan had failed, and worse, it had made the human a hero. Kareth glanced up at the balcony, locking eyes with the warrior. The message was clear. This wasn't over. In fact, it had only just begun. The morning after the Festival of Lights, Zathra woke to a different rhythm. The usual marketplace boasts and challenges were quieter. The proud voices of alien males carrying a softer tone. Whispers of Ryan's rescue had spread through every district, from the crystal towers of the nobles to the dusty trade streets. Children reenacted the moment in the plazas, playing the roles of the brave human and the falling child. Women spoke of courage and kindness as though they were rare jewels, and for the first time, those words were not attached to the strongest warriors. Larea walked beside Ryan through the crowded lanes, her head held high. No longer did she glance around to see who was watching. She wanted them to see. Other women approached, not with shy curiosity, but with genuine admiration. They asked questions about Earth, about human traditions, about why someone would risk their life for a stranger's child. Ryan answered simply, saying, "Because every life matters," and his words seemed to settle into their hearts like seeds in fertile ground. Kareth observed all of it, his mind in turmoil. He had once believed that Zathran courtship was a flawless tradition, perfected over centuries. Now, he saw cracks running through its foundation. Men who once stood like statues now tried smiling more, speaking more gently, even listening without interrupting. Some did it awkwardly, others with genuine curiosity. But the change was there, and it was spreading. In the evenings, small gatherings formed around the humans, not for contests or competitions, but for stories, songs, and quiet conversations. Alien males began to notice that women stayed longer in these circles than at the old displays of strength. It was a shift so subtle that few dared speak of it aloud, but everyone could feel it. The rules of the game were changing. The golden armored warrior watched this transformation with growing fury. To him, it was not cultural progress. It was an invasion. The humans were not just winning hearts. They were rewriting the meaning of worth. And if this continued, the proud traditions of Zathran males would be replaced with something he could not control. Yet for Kareth, the change brought a quiet hope. He saw women smiling in ways they hadn't before. He saw conversations where both voices mattered. And for the first time, he wondered if Ryan's way was not a threat, but a gift. A dangerous gift, yes, but one that could make Zathra better. As the sun set behind the crystal skyline, the air shimmered with the glow of lantern lights. Somewhere in the crowd, a woman's laugh rang out, soft, warm, unforced. And Kareth realized it was the same kind of laugh he had first heard from Larea when she spoke to Ryan. A laugh that had started all of this. A laugh that would not be forgotten. Weeks passed, and the humans prepared to leave Zathra. Their ship stood ready at the edge of the landing field, silver hull gleaming under the twin suns. Crowds gathered, not to see them go, but to thank them. Women brought small gifts, crystal, flowers, woven bracelets, handwritten verses, tokens of gratitude for the kindness and respect the humans had shown. Children waved, some clutching wooden toys that had been fixed by human hands. Kareth walked with Ryan toward the boarding ramp. The air between them was heavy with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Kareth spoke, his voice quieter than usual. When you first arrived, I thought you were here to take something from us, he admitted. But now I see you gave us something we didn't know we were missing. Ryan smiled faintly. I didn't come to change your world, Kareth. I just came to be myself. But you did change it, Kareth said. Not with strength or treasure, but with something else. Ryan shrugged. Respect isn't treasure, Kareth. It's free. But it's worth more than gold. Larea approached then, her steps graceful yet tinged with sadness. She placed her hand on Ryan's and held it for a long moment. You have shown us another way, she said. One where the heart listens before it speaks. Ryan bowed his head slightly. And maybe one day, that way won't seem so strange here. The call to board sounded, and the humans began stepping onto the ramp. Kareth stepped back, watching as the crowd of women waved, their voices warm and bright, among the alien males. There was silence. Not the silence of defeat, but of thought. Some looked uneasy, others curious. The golden armored warrior was there too, his expression unreadable. For the first time, he didn't glare, he simply watched. As the ship's engines lit, Ryan raised a hand in farewell. The hum of the thrusters filled the air, lifting the vessel slowly into the sky. Kareth felt a strange emptiness and a strange hope at the same time. The humans were leaving. But their way of living, their way of seeing others, that was staying. It had already taken root in the hearts of many. Long after the ship vanished into the clouds, Kareth remained. He turned to the marketplace, now alive with softer voices, warmer smiles. Perhaps the humans had not stolen anything after all. Perhaps they had given Zathra its most valuable treasure, not gold, not power, but the simple truth that respect, kindness, and listening could win hearts more surely than any contest.